Welcome to my kings and my queens. Thank you for pulling up. Most likely you're here from my invitation from TikTok. I welcome you. I hear all the comments, I hear all of the feedback when it comes to pivoting. And I want to tell you that I have gone through so many of these moments where, in many instances, I lacked the awareness to even appreciate what was happening in that moment. But for you, I want you to understand that this is truly a beautiful time in your life. And I know that might be hard for you to grasp, and it took a real long time for me to grasp just how this could be beautiful for me. When we think about transforming into something different, there's a lot of fear attached to that. There's so much fear attached from stepping away from something that we thought was going to be the path for us, where the person that we thought was supposed to be the person that was going to be with us for the rest of our lives, stepping away from an industry that you work so hard to put your stamp on. These are all tremendously difficult things to overcome. And I will tell you that it's so much easier for individuals to persist in the negativity, for individuals to persist with the lack of happiness, with dissatisfaction, with mediocrity. It's easier for them to deal with that than it is to say, you know what? It's time to cut the cord. It's time to move on. It's time to pivot. And I will tell you that if you really do a careful inventory on your life, you will notice that there are multiple areas where you need to make a significant shift. It could also be as simple as shortening your circle of friends and family. There's so many of us that continue to put up with people that are not in alignment with where we are right now in this moment and what our future holds for us. There are many individuals that are going out of their way to limit your progress on purpose. There's so many of them that don't want to see a different version of you. Change can impact people in very dramatic ways. And the people that are used to seeing you in a certain light want nothing more than for you to maintain that status quo. So, when you position yourself to make a change, when you announce to your circle of supporters that you are interested in exercising, you are interested in changing careers, you are interested in getting a divorce, you are more often than not going to be met with a rush of negative energy, a rush of negativity from people who are concerned not just about your well being, they're concerned that the direction that you choose to go into is going to ultimately pull you away from them. And this is painful. This is painful for some people who have built up their whole identity based off of their crew, based off of their family, which so many of us are taught from the system that we were indoctrinated into very early in existence about how family is everything. And I don't deny the impact of family. I don't deny the love, the moments of closeness, the bonds that have been created for decades with many of us, right? It's very hard to welcome in new friends. It's very hard to seek out other people that you could trust. So more often than not, our default setting for many of us, especially the ethnic individuals, we tend to be very close with our family, even to a detriment, even if it hurts us. We linger, we persist, we overstay our welcome. And for many of us, this is costing us not just happiness, because happiness is fleeting. It is keeping us from our purpose. And at the root of being in alignment with your path towards purpose, the root of that is what we call inner peace. So, what you really want, and I'm not here to gaslight you and tell you what you want and what you don't want, but I'm just here because I've done a lot of embodiment work, and I've really taken time to heal some of my own generational curses that at one point precluded me from really doing the self-inventories that I needed to do, the check-ins with my own feelings and with my emotions. Understanding how those emotions impacted me, not just in my mind, but also in my body and my spirit. This is part of your work that you're inevitably going to do. This is the foundation of my program, my fitness self-mastery program, is that we are here to raise awareness in the beginning. Then we clean the vessel, right? Before we start getting ready for all the heavy duty lifting that we're going to be doing, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually, we need to prepare the vessel. Okay, we need to be able to remove the blockages, the chronic aches and pains that have been holding us back for such a long time. And some of these are mental, but some of them are physical, and some of them are outside of us. They're the jobs that no longer serve us, the bosses that ask us to do things that we don't really want to do anymore, making somebody else a ton of money, right? I know I got tired of that, and I'm sure that you're tired of that too. That's why you're here. You're here because you want to make a significant change. You also may be in a relationship where you're like, wow, I've been with this person for years, and we are just not connected anymore. We are just two strangers moving around in the same space, never quite aligning, never quite overlapping. We don't have sex. And if we do have sex, we don't necessarily have intimacy. It's another chore, it's another job. We may be co-parenting. We're just parents together. We're only here for our child or children. This is a very common thing. The lack of fire in relationships is so profound that it impacts us on a global scale. It impacts us in our bodies. We think it's just our mind, but it disconnects us from our bodies. It disconnects us from our spirit. So you have a three-dimensional being and you're completely disconnected. All right, so your mind, you have so much anxiety, or you're dealing with so much depression. You're feeling sorry for yourself constantly. You're unsatisfied. Your desires aren't being met by your partner. Your desires aren't being met by your job. And you need to change. If you don't change, the emotional disconnect that you have from your body will begin the process of erosion to the physical body. And what was once just a negative thought has progressed to degeneration of the physical body. Not just the muscles, not just the spine, but we're talking about the organs, our heart. People really do die from broken hearts. Our lungs, anxiety, where does it impact us? It impacts us here in the chest, the neck, the shoulders. So many of us have so much tightness. I ask you to turn your head, and some of you guys can't turn your head. And it's because it's so stiff. You know, I dig into your neck and it feels like leather. You know, like I like leather. I like wearing leather. I don't like my body to feel like it's leather. That's not what our bodies were meant to feel like. Too much tension begins to accumulate in the soft tissue because that's what's being recorded. Our fascia, our bodies collect all of the unfiltered, the unprocessed emotion. It has to go somewhere. It's all the emotions that you have are energy, right? So the energy, if it's not properly utilized, it's remains stagnant. It remains stuck, you know, and it gets stuck into your bodies and it hardens. And this is what leads to disease for many people. Okay, and this takes years to build up. I don't want that for you. Right? So why do we talk about alchemy? Why do I even bother mentioning alchemy? Okay, there's probably pills that you could take, right? There's probably a therapy session that could help you, right? Or you could just go back to that support system, complain to them, and hope that somebody really cares about you. How has that been working for you? How has that been working for you? You're here, so I know it hasn't. It hasn't worked for you. And it's okay to admit that. And now that you admit it, we need to learn how to work with the energy in our body. And this is what the inner alchemy does for us. When we sit and we learn how to cleanse our body, when we learn how to do the activation work that cultivates the strength that we already have inside of us, which builds a solid foundation from which we could begin the work and we could build the endurance to last, because this is going to be a long ride. This is going to be a long, hard ride that's going to be filled with tons of obstacles, barriers. So it's going to be very important that you know ahead of time you're going to take a hit. You've already been taking hits and you've kept getting back up, and I applaud you. You're resilient, right? But when it comes to connecting self-awareness with consistency, developing resilience, then and only then can we build the confidence that we need to endure, to know that there's going to be moments where you wake up. You woke up this morning and you did not want to do the work. You didn't want to do it. Something happened at work today. You came home, you were supposed to go to the gym, and you didn't want to do it. Right? Or maybe your kids were acting up, so you didn't want to do it. It's gonna happen. And I will tell you, as a coach, fitness coach, consultant, physical therapist, the number one reason why people fail when it comes to their own wellness is because of their inability to be resilient. Their inability to continue to be consistent even in the face of adversity. So when we talk about pivoting, it's so important for you to realize that this is going to be a very hard thing to do. And just because I give you the steps, that's only going to bring awareness to what's inevitably going to happen. When you go to that person, that partner that you've been with for so long, you're not going to do it impulsively. You're not going to just roll out of bed, wake up, and step to that person and tell them you're done. No. What we do first is we begin the introspective work, the going inward, okay, the diving in, because what's important to know more so than anything is who you are. Who are you? You were living all of this time assuming that you were somebody that would seek out a partner that was like that. You were somebody that thought that your job was supposed to be that, even though you're not satisfied with that job. You were someone that thought that friend was a good person to keep around. Right? So it's safe to say that there's versions, there's parts of you that you didn't know. So it's time to get to know exactly who you are. It's time to get to know what exactly your desires are. If you're in a relationship with a partner that doesn't like to have sex and you do, that's a red flag. If you are in a relationship with a partner that doesn't like kink and you do, it's not going to work out. Okay? If you have a friendship with someone that loves to get intoxicated, that loves to get drunk, and you don't want to drink anymore, then that's not a person that you should be hanging out with, right? But you haven't figured out exactly what it is that you want. So what we do in that part of the journey is we're starting from square one. And I want you to sit, and you can call it meditation, you can call it contemplation, you could break out a book and you could journal. Whatever makes you feel better and the least intimidating, but you need to do it. You need to sit with yourself. This is number one, and this is what I call a self-inventory. And you need to ask yourself some really important questions. First and foremost, who do I want to be? Right? We call that the goal or the intention. And you can't get to your goal or to your intention without finding out who you are right now in this moment. Who are you right now? What are some of the things that you like? What are some of the things that you hate? If you really think about it, if you exit out of the system, and I want you to visualize yourself. Right now I'm in this house. Right now you're in your house. I want you to envision stepping outside of your comfort zone. Stepping outside of what you thought it was that you liked or wanted. And I want you to really take some time to think about 4 to 5 things that you really enjoy. Maybe you don't like sports. Maybe the only reason why you watched baseball was because your family watched baseball. But the truth is, you don't care about baseball. Maybe you enjoy art. Maybe you like going to an art gallery. Maybe the women that you thought were attractive were only attractive because that's the kind of woman that reminds you of your mom. Right? Maybe you thought that was wifey material. So you settled for that person because you thought they would be a good mother. Instead of looking at them and saying to yourself, well, who is this person right now? Who is this person right now? Before I try to transform them into the thing that I want them to be, Who are they? If you take away all the facade, if you take the makeup off, if you take everything away, the glitz, the glamour, the clothing, the brands, what are you left with? Right? So 4 to 5 things that you really like, that you really enjoy, right? And this is for you. This isn't for you to go and show someone else. So if it's something kinky, then that's what you like. If you like kink, then you need to honor that, right? But then after you get your 5 things that you really like, I want you to find 4 or 5 things that you don't like. 4 to 5 things that you don't like. And I want you to think, it's going to be a little bit easier for you to figure that out because you're trying to get out of a relationship where you're doing a bunch of things that you don't like. Okay, so this should be a little bit easier. I always find that it's harder, much harder for people to figure out what they do want versus what they don't want. Because there's a physical being that's there, right? There's a person that's there. Same thing with your job. Like, what do I want to do for a living? I'm a lawyer. I've been in fitness for over 20 years. And I will tell you, I've seen so many lawyers, uh, marketing people, um, you name it, doctors. I've seen them convert and pivot into wellness. I mean, it's so many people that I know, and they go and they become gym owners. A lot of these successful gym owners were individuals that came from careers like lawyers, and they were so unfulfilled, but they had the money. So they would go and they would pivot and they would take their money and they would invest it into a fitness business. And a lot of the successful gyms and the chains that you see or that have passed, they were created by individuals that couldn't take it anymore. And this is what I encourage people to do. Like, you don't want to wait too long to figure it out, but at some point you need to have the courage to make the shift and make the change. And I want you to sit right now. Okay, I want you to contemplate about what it is that you really want to do. Okay, do you want to get into fitness? Are you teaching and you're not satisfied with the teaching, the compensation? There's a lot of teachers that are underpaid and they're unsatisfied about what they're being given in return for all the services that they put into it. So it's important for you to sit and figure out, what is it that I always wanted to do? There's so many of you that probably had a liberal arts major in college, and maybe you had a parent that looked at you and said, you know what? No, you're not. You're not going to be an artist. You are going to be a doctor. I imagine there's a lot of you that went ahead and took on professions that someone else told you to get into. Maybe you come from a family of lawyers. Maybe you come in from a family of fashion. And you say, you know what, I'm not into fashion. My family are real estate developers. Many of my clients that I work with one-on-one are into real estate. They either develop, they buy, they sell real estate, commercial, residential. And many of them, they inherit the business from their parents. But it doesn't necessarily align with what they want to do. So there comes the heavy decision making that needs to be made, because some of you guys, you value your family so much that you do what they say, even at the expense of your own self. And this is where we see the chronic mental health issues most. When people are not living in their purpose, when they're living in a purpose that was designated to them by somebody else. All right? So once we get to the point where we figure out what we want to do, then we need to set ourselves a date. And we need to make sure that we stick to that schedule. If it's time for us to give our 2 weeks notice, then we need to do that. Okay? If you know that you want to give your 2 weeks notice, then that means there's preparation that you need to do for yourself. You need to figure out how it is that you're going to do what it is that you want to do. You might not be able to figure everything out, but that's okay. But you're starting that process, the wheels are churning. And I want you to be decisive about what it is that you want to do. And there is inevitably going to be a level of surrendering that you will have to let go. You will have to let go. And there's going to be a period of instability. You hear the stories about a starving artist, and I'm not trying to scare people away from that, but people shifting away from what they were taught to like or to do into a pivot where they're leaning into their love, their passion, the thing that they really always wanted to do. They just never had the time or the confidence. They never believed in themselves enough to do it. There's a hit that you're going to take for that. You will. There's a balancing act that happens because you are no longer working from a space of unfulfillment. The fact that you are fulfilled with your work is in itself a level of currency. That's an energy. The uplifting of your spirit, the reconnection of the mind to the body, that's currency. Okay? And paying the bills and living the life that you want to live, that comes with time. That comes with time. But that moment when you have all of the elements in alignment with each other, where you have the business, the job that you're really passionate about, and you have that currency of happiness, of inner peace, right? Because remember, happiness is fleeting. But we've got that inner peace where we know that we're in line with our purpose. Okay? That is key to reconnecting the mind back to the body and being able to take the momentum and carry that into how we rebuild our body. And when we go deeper in the next course that I have, we're going to do the actual application of the work. So this is how we do it. Right now we're bringing awareness. But the next program that we lean into is going to be how we take action and we reclaim our power. Okay, so this is going to be the actual physical work that we're going to have to do. The cleansing of the vessel, the aligning, the cleansing of the chakras, the building of the foundation of strength, balance, mobility, building the stress management aspect that we're neglecting, right? So the meditation work, the breath work, the visualization, understanding what our breath means. Why is it important? Understanding the different bodies that are in one. Okay, we are much more than a three-dimensional being. And once we evolve and we progress through that next course, we have inevitably reached the alchemical process where we start to learn how to transform, transmute energy that's already inside of us. And this is the stuff that people have been doing for millennia. And it gets me very excited. This is where my passion is. My passion is taking someone who's been feeling shame for a long period of time and be able to take that energy that's associated with the feeling of shame and repurposing and transforming that energy and being able to use it to help your body versus break it down. That's a skill that most of us don't have, but I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to show you how to do it. And once you learn it, you will never not be able to do it again. So I'm very excited that you're here. And I know this is a longer video, but I appreciate you for being here and for being here for yourself. Right? I could do this stuff, but it's my purpose to teach you, because when I had my spiritual awakening, when things began to align for me, there were many things that happened in my life that I had to go about alone. And I don't wish that on anybody. So I want to be that support. I want this community to be the support system for you so that you cannot feel alone when you go into these difficult moments, because they will come. I want you to know that you have a sanctuary where you can go to, where you can plug in and be your authentic self, because right now, maybe the circles that you're in don't allow you to do that. So the choice is yours. I appreciate you being here, but I would love to see you take it to the next level. And I'm going to be here and we're going to do the work together. Love you. See you again soon.